Hey fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I hope you're watching real time as a Patreon patron. If you are, thank you very much for your support. Also, our YouTube subscribers are getting this real time, so if you're subscribing there, great. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, you can link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. There's instructions in the show description below. That will get us paid and cost you nothing. It's one of the perks that Amazon gives you for being a Prime member. So please try to check that out. If you haven't done it in a couple months, renew it, because we get paid every time you renew that and every time you watch. So would appreciate it. If you have no inclination to support Shane in producing this content, then you're getting this a week late or later, and it serves you right. Follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. From Sifted, from Justin. According to IGN, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox will not attend E3 this year. What are your thoughts on this? How much of the ESA's revenue comes from E3, and how dependent is it on the big three attending? Is the ESA at risk of dissolving and the industry at risk of losing its primary lobbying organization? You know, what's going to happen is the ESA gets a chunk, I'd say maybe half the revenue from E3, but the other half just comes from member organizations. So, you know, the trick is, I don't know what their budget is. Let's just arbitrarily say $20 million. They get 10 from E3 and 10 from member contributions. If E3 drops from 10 to 5, then and they still need to spend 20, they'll get 5 from E3 and 15 from member contributions. So the members are going to pay regardless, and Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft are all members of the ESA. So it's their choice how they want to fund the ESA, but they will fund it because they believe in it and they need the lobbying organization. So I don't worry about the ESA dissolving. I do worry about E3 going away, and I think that that's a real possibility. I think it's extremely short-sighted of the companies not being at E3. And, you know, Sony's been doing its own thing for a few years, and obviously we haven't had an E3 since 2019, but Sony kind of departed in 18 or 19. Microsoft moved off site next door, you know, to what's now the Microsoft Theater, and they're going to probably do that again. I haven't heard, but I think they're doing that again. Sony, I've heard nothing, so I'm sure they're not coming back. And Nintendo is a mystery. I'm actually speaking to Mr. Furukawa on the week from Monday, on Monday the 20th. So I'll ask him directly if they're going or not. I'll find out, and I'll have some scoop. But, you know, EA's not having an EA Play this summer, you know, which again, I don't know why, but they're not. Now, are they coming to E3? Yeah. They're coming to meet with investors. They're just not going to have a big booth and a big presence at E3. So, you know, the companies can still get things done, and they probably perceive that they're better off with their marketing budgets on their games, marketing them closer to launch and showing more, you know, polished product, rather than trying to build, you know, get an early build and show something with bugs and all that and warts. So my expectation is that it's the timing of E3 that's been a problem for these guys, because their games just aren't ready in June, and I think they'd much prefer a Tokyo Game Show kind of timing, end of September. So I think really that's what it is. And, you know, maybe they'll be back when there's a new console coming or something, but, you know, COVID kind of screwed things up. They got in the habit of not having conferences. They all thrived during shelter in place. They're all suffering now. Take-Two just missed earnings for the first time in 15 years. So, you know, it's kind of unusual for these guys to miss. EA just lowered numbers and slipped games out. Activision's the only one that's killing it, and they're being acquired. You know, so Ubisoft missed. So I think part of it is the budgets are low. The guys aren't thriving as well as they were in the past. I hope they're back next year, but we're going to have an E3. The E3, I am hopeful, will have enough consumers there and enough press there that it will be a success. I'm having a party no matter what, and I'm getting really good feedback from people on the party that they're coming. You know, so I expect that we're not going to have any kind of issue with people showing up, even if the big three console makers don't show up. So again, ESA not going away. ESA not at risk of being defunded. It's just that, you know, if Microsoft's paying, let's just say $1 million a year to fund the ESA, and then they were going to spend $2 million or $3 million to have a presence at E3, they gladly spend $2 million to fund the ESA and not have the presence of E3. And that's kind of what I think you're going to see. That's the ESA is their organization. They are the board. They hire the people. They hire the director. They direct the policy. And if they're on the board, they decide the budget. And if the budget, in my example, because I don't know the number, the budget's $20 million and dues are 10, then the dues members have to pay 20 if there's no E3. There will be an E3. So E3 will make less money. And again, in my example, if instead of 10 from E3, they only make 5, the members will pay the other 5. Or the members will cut the budget. That's their call too. But ESA will get its budget funded by its members regardless. So no, it doesn't go away. And I mean, it's sort of like saying if your restaurant isn't full, do you keep all the waiters employed? No. You shrink the number of tables, and if it stays permanently at half capacity, you move to a smaller facility in order to make your restaurant make money. So that's what they'll run ESA to make money. They'll figure it out. Anyway, I don't think the industry is at risk of losing ESA because the members value what the ESA does. It's clear the members don't value E3 or they'd be showing up. So it just means that the ESA is going to fund itself in a different manner. And you know they brought ReadPop in this year, which is a consumer-facing event planner. I think they do Penny Arcade expos, and so I think that they know how to run a show and keep people happy, and I'm sure there will be plenty there. I have trouble taking any of this breaking news at face value because you just never know. I mean, the IGN reporter can't verify that Nintendo's coming, therefore they're not. I don't know. The problem is that Sony started it by saying we don't have to go to E3. Our money's better spent by doing reveals at GDC or a standalone Sony event, and Sony convinced itself that's better. I think they're crazy. I think they're wrong. But that's what they decided. And, you know, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if they're right. If Nintendo feels that Nintendo Directs, which cost nothing, are more effective than being at E3, then they'll keep doing it that way. It's sort of like the Bloomberg report that said that PlayStation VR sales were going to, early orders were or production would be 2 million, and then a month later they said it was 1.5 million, but the headline was Sony cuts production, and Sony said we didn't cut production. And my quip on that one was the headline was wrong. It should have said Bloomberg revises its estimate, because Bloomberg didn't know whether it was 2 million or 1.5 million. They estimated 2 million, and then they changed their mind and estimated 1.5, and then they decided to say Sony cut their production. I just don't trust reporters who are making stuff up as they go. So a reporter may have said, I asked Nintendo if they were going to E3 and they didn't answer me, therefore they're not going. They might not be going, but I haven't heard Sony officially say they're not. I asked EA, are you having an EA Play in LA during E3? And they said no. So they told me that. So I know they're not going, but what I should say is I know that they don't plan to do EA Play. Maybe they're going back on the show floor at E3. I don't know. I didn't ask that question. I doubt it, but I don't know. You know, I still think it's dumb for anybody not to be there. Again, Activision, I get it. You know, they're in flux. They might not be part of Microsoft by then. Then again, they might. Microsoft, I expect to have an event. I think Microsoft's got more to show off. And to be honest with you, I think Microsoft would be happy if no Sony and Nintendo were there. It was just them. So I expect you'll see a big show for Game Pass. I really expect that. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor this week. If you are a Patreon patron, we very, very much appreciate it. If you are a YouTube subscriber, thank you. If you are neither, but you have remembered to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, we're getting paid, so thank you. And if you are none of those things, then at a minimum, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. See you next time.